So we're going to go through the technique for how to run, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, endless march or empty drill as a defense for when you're getting attacked or out there hunting and attacking others. So basically, the main point of this technique is that you want to keep your drills basically empty all the time. So because the really the only place you can lose troops from when you're getting hit at your base is either at your drill ground or at your wall if you have teams up. That's essentially what we're going to try to eliminate. Um, so I'm going to take my squads all off the wall, and you might think like, okay, well, I can't have that many troops, but actually you can because in the drill ground, depending on whether you have 3 or 4 squads available to you, you can probably send out, somewhere between 7,500 and a little over 10,000 troops, right? So you can hold 10,000 roundabout that way. And then depending on your hospital capacity, you should be able to hold. I mean, I'm actually pretty low at 9,500, but a lot of people are around 10K, so you can hold about 10K in the hospital. And then additionally, if you have emergency center available for a refill, then you can hold about 2,000 here. And ideally, whenever you're starting your hunting or whatever, you want to probably try to time your troop training so you also have some troops to refill here. I mean, I only have level sixes here, but if you're doing this for real, you'd probably want to have whatever the max that each barracks can produce. So all in all, if you count the hospital plus the drill ground, plus emergency center, plus whatever troops you can hold in training ready to go, you can probably have, somewhere between 22,000 or, 25,000, probably around a max, which is not bad. The other thing that people might be worried about is if you're going to keep your hospital completely full, you worry that if you do get hit, uh, and especially if you lose some troops on attacking, then obviously those troops are not going to go back to the hospital. They're just going to die immediately. So that's definitely true if you are out there hunting and producing injuries, severe injuries to your troops. So if that's the case, you do want to leave a little bit of room for healing. But if you are just sitting around and maybe using this as a defense against attack, then even if you were completely full, you'll be fine because you won't lose any troops because no troops will ever get hit as long as you're running it correctly. So if we're actually running it, basically you want to kind of start with this kind of setup where your drill grounds are fairly empty, right? So I have about 6K in here, so that's going to fill maybe three squads, maybe a tiny bit more, with a lot of troops in the hospital, and then backups in other places. So in terms of how you run it, essentially all you want to do is have your squads never be at home at your base. So there's a lot of different strategies to be able to do that effectively. One of the easiest strategies, if you're hanging out around the hive and just trying to hide your troops, is you should go and hide your troops inside your alliance mates that are shielded. So imagine everybody else around me is shielded, then the quickest way really is to just go ahead and reinforce with all of your teams. And that way, if you reinforce, you can see that basically all of your troops are now outside of the base. And if I go back to the drill ground, it'll tell you exactly that, which in base there was still two. It wasn't enough to send a full squad out, and that's fine. You can lose two. But outside the base, you have basically all of your troops minus the two. The other way you would be able to run this is um, by sending your troops out to piles or even on attack marches that are essentially never going to end. Um, so imagine I just teleported in to this spot, right? So, imagine this is the enemy hive and I just teleported in. Um, you're going to want to really quickly, as soon as you teleport, zoom out real quick, go to the mini map and tap somewhere really far away, right? So I usually try to go for the corners because that's pretty far away, and then find yourself either a tile or a basic zombie and tap on that, and you can start sending. You can send all of your squads to the same tile, and that's totally fine. Um, because the ones that make it there later are just going to bounce off and return to base. But what this does give you is about 4 minutes, and 5 minutes in the missile squad's case to get to the tile. At that point, your first squad to arrive is going to sit in the tile. Hopefully nobody finds it and decides to attack it, but it's pretty low chances for anybody to search out your specific tile, especially if it's out in the borders. And then the rest of your squads are gonna, hit the tile, bounce off, and go back to base. If you have the time for it, you can definitely send your second, third, and fourth squads to a different tile. If you just want them to all kind of hang out there, that's fine. Um, And then the other thing you can do as I wait for these guys to return is you can also do the same thing to a basic zombie that's, somewhere far in the corner. So if you do it to a basic zombie, the benefit is you get a lot more time because instead of the 4 minutes it was going to take to get to the tile, you get about 10 minutes to hit the zombie. And, all the squads will try to hit the zombie, only one will succeed. And then they'll all just march back. So realistically, with even with your number of one squad, and your fastest squad, you'll have about 20 minutes here. And then for some of the slower squads, you'll have even more time than that. So that in that amount of time, because you have no squads at home, you actually can't get any troops killed at all. So, you know, enemies may come, they may hit you, your walls will be empty, your drill grounds will be completely empty because all of your troops are out, and so you won't lose anything at all. One of the other things is if you are trying to actually attack somebody, right? So if you're trying to attack, my tip would be, imagine you teleported right here into the middle of an enemy hive. What you really want to do is try to find a more close by tile or somewhere to travel with your first squad first, right? Because you want to eventually attack with your squad one. Um, so even though your squad one you want to keep close, you need to send your squad one out first because that's the way you're going to guarantee that they both get a full load of troops, and also that the load of troops, in case you have mixed troop levels in your drill grounds, that they get the highest possible troops in that squad. So you would send your main squad out to somewhere somewhat close. And if you wanted them to march slower and not land anywhere that potentially could get hit, you could do that to a zombie instead, and that'll be slower. And that gives you a little bit of time to go do your corner thing with your other squads. So you can go, and then now you can return your first squad, you can see your first squad's full, your second squad's full, but your third squad is half empty. And now, as you're returning, you can start attacking other people in the hive. So, then, maybe you want to be a little bit faster, you want to tile hop, and let's say I'm trying to hit Dust over here, then I would click on Dust and imagine attacking him. Now, the other part of attacking is going to be that you're going to need to refill at some point, right? And because you're sending all of your squads out to somewhere far away, it's not going to be the most convenient to refill your squad um, by returning them because it gets a little bit dangerous because the squads are going to be sitting around unless your timing is really, really perfect. You're going to have one squad sitting in your base for an amount of time while you wait for the other squad to arrive. Because you can take your, second or third squad, return them to base, and then um, if you have your first squad there too, that's now injured and lost some troops, you can send your first squad out again. It'll pull troops from your drill ground that your second or third squad returned, and then it will allow you to send out a full squad one again. But like I said, that's not super great because you're going to have essentially one of your squads or one or more of your squads sitting idle in your base, and even if you don't have your squads up on your walls, it's still going to be dangerous because people are going to hit you, and you're just going to lose troops to straight death from the drill ground. So the better way to do it if your other squads are out and you need to heal is to just go ahead and go into your base and remember you have some troops that are cooked that are ready. So that is one option. You can um, if you lost a lot of troops and the number kind of matches up. So, if you lost around 700 to 800 troops, then, you could click one of these, refill your drill grounds, and then send your squad one back out and it'll be full. Or the much more precise method is, let me see if I can figure out a way to actually show some death. Probably not, but as your squad is returning, right? So I'm sending my squad one out, and then as you tell your squad to return, you can test and see how many troops are missing because it tells you here, like, 2906 over 2906. But if it said like 1800, right, you would know I'm missing about 1100 troops. So that's how many I need. And it does require a little bit of quick math. I forget if your troops are, not complete in your squad. Does it tell you how many are missing? I'm not entirely sure, but it might. Actually, I'll test with this. If I test with the missile squad, yeah, so it doesn't exactly tell you how many are missing, but you can see the total over here. So you just have to do quick subtraction. So 2400 full, and then 1306 that are current. So you would need about 1116 troops to be able to fill the squad up if this is your squad one. So what you would do for that, you don't have to go back into base. You can do it from the on-screen map heal. So you would just come into here and say, I need 1100 T10s and think I said 1116. So I just plug in 1116 here and then hit heal. And hopefully you get enough help that you can heal them rather quickly. So basically, you want to time it so that your heal finishes, right? So you want your heal to finish. So I'm going to do a low number so it finishes quickly, but you want your heal to finish before your before your squad gets home so that your squad's not sitting idle. So now you can see my heal's finished, and I'm gonna return my squad back to base to refill, right? Um, but I'm not gonna send these troops into the drill ground until my squad just arrives. So you want to time it like that, and now you fill, and then you come back out. So the idea is to spend as little time inside the base with the squad as possible, and also you don't want troops inside your base without being sent out immediately. So that's kind of the general gist of it. If anybody has questions, feel free to let me know. But if you kind of run this method where all your squads are out holding all of your troops, you should be able to avoid any damage when you're out there hunting, or even if you're just sitting around and being attacked, you can pretty easily send all your troops out in a hurry, and you won't take any troop death from any attacks. All right, that's it.